Hello, and welcome back to the Defining Success podcast. You may have noticed that I haven't posted in about a week, and that's because I've been super busy, and I'm here to talk to you about what I've been up to with the person I've been up to it with, my girlfriend, my partner in crime, Isabel Machado. So, Isa, why don't you tell everybody what we've been up to lately?
Okay, hi first and everything, and thank you for having me again
Of
one more
course.
time. We have been really busy because we are making a feature film,
Yeah, a full-length movie, an hour and a half
an
of
hour and a
movie.
half. So that's pretty excited. It's been a lot of work and a lot of learning. We're still working on it. We're not done yet. So we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so let's tell them how it started and the conversation we had at the dinner table that really got us to want to make something in quarantine like this, something
Yeah.
this ambitious.
So we were having a conversation with Nate's dad, and he was asking like, what does it take to make a movie? And Nate and I got into an argue of how much you need, or like how can you make it with less, like how do you say it? Like
How do
not.
you make it with the least amount of
Yeah,
resources as possible?
thank you. Yeah, so I was saying, like, yeah, you can make a movie with a couple $1,000 and 10 people. And he was like, no, you have to have like millions of dollars. We were just arguing about that. And then we say, well, why don't we try to make a movie ourselves?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. So basically, we're in quarantine. It's kind of coming out of it now, but we're in quarantine with myself, Isabel, my mom, my dad, my sister, and her boyfriend. And so there was another dinner where we were all at the dinner table, and Isabel brought up our conversation that she just talked about. And somebody said, I think it was probably her, said, we should just make one. We should make a feature film right now. And I was like, well, we don't have my camera. We don't have this, blah, blah, blah. Everything I own is back in LA.
And we didn't have a story, we didn't have anything.
We had no script. We had nothing. And then my sister's boyfriend said, like, oh, I'll act in it. Just write something with two characters and me and Jess will act in it. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. So then I was like, okay. So I texted my roommate in LA. I told him, send me my camera
Mm-hmm.
and all the stuff that we need, the sound stuff and all that. And we're going to make a feature film. So then I took the next 4 days or so.
That night was so funny because everybody at the table started to give ideas. We're going to make this, and we could do this, and we could have this character, and this funny moment, or this scary moment. And then we wrote all the ideas on the wall,
Yeah,
and
we put them on sticky notes and stuck them on the wall.
yeah, and had like a whole story there. And then Nate, in 4 days, pretty good, wrote a whole feature film.
I wrote probably in 2 days. I wrote about half of it. We started shooting,
Mm-hmm.
and then in day 4, I had a whole thing written. And then like a week later, after we shot like 20 minutes, I changed the entire ending and what it meant.
The whole story.
But it was a good thing
Oh, great.
because
It was better now.
I'm not sure if we had not started shooting, if I would have ever changed it. But because we were shooting and I was like trying to make it better and I saw the edit and saw that it wasn't really working, I had the ability to change it. So, and that brings me to what I want to talk about next, which is opportunities that we saw during this whole thing and how we seized them. So, Isa, what do you think this quarantine allowed us to do that we wouldn't have been able to do without what was going on?
Well, I think for us, thankfully, quarantine was a good thing. It sounds not good, but it is real for us. Um, Nate, you start your podcast, and I bet you wouldn't have done it before. And the fact that we have two people willing to act for us all the time and not charging, like they're doing it for free, that's a lot. And that is just happening because we're in quarantine, and that we don't have to go to work, and we can just spend all of our time working in this movie is because we're here in the same house, stuck here.
Yeah, there's like I kept wondering throughout this whole process of making the movie, like if this was, and it hasn't been easy by any means, and we'll get into that later. But if this was this simple of a thing to start, because it's definitely simple to start. It's not easy to finish. It's not easy, but more people would be doing this. But then I realized, like, oh, nobody really has a month off with 6 people in a house that are willing to help you make something. So that really was an opportunity that doesn't exist outside of the situation that this pandemic created. So I think that looking for opportunities in otherwise bad moments, and I realized, like, we don't have kids, we don't have like people to take care of, we don't have to teach anybody school like a lot of people during the quarantine did. But there are a lot of people just like us who spent this quarantine not doing anything. And I really think that it was an opportunity for somebody like us who doesn't have many responsibilities and we have enough money saved to make it through, that there was an opportunity here to really create something. And seizing those opportunities is something I'm proud that we're doing.
Yeah, that we could like find out and on time. I kind of wish we had started before. We had like 2 or 3 weeks of doing nothing.
I wish we would have started earlier too.
Yeah.
But again,
but I'm glad we did.
Yeah, we were doing the podcast. We had another project we were working on. But yeah, I really do think that any opportunity is present anywhere. And there's a book that I would suggest everybody read. It's called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And it talks about how the obstacles that come up in your life are really, can be looked at as opportunities and further your growth instead of make it harder.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the obstacles within our opportunity within the movie and how hard it's actually been.
It's been pretty hard. Harder than what I thought, to be honest. And every single thing is things that usually are not, I think, is a problem. Everything is a problem. We solve it, but everything becomes a problem really quick.
Yeah. And that's filmmaking in general. And before we move on about these obstacles and these hard things in making the movie, like we're very thankful that we can make it, and like we're very positive about the situation. But there are moments where I'm pulling my hair out or like in tears and blood,
ready to say
sweat.
Maybe this is not worth the pain, the stress, and the
ready
fights.
To just throw everything away. But so tell them about the sound issues we had in the first few weeks.
Okay, first I want to say something. I do camera. Like right now we're doing everything, but what I actually do is camera, and I don't care about sound. I don't care about art. I just care about my camera's good and focus, and that's good. So here we don't have a team. We're Nate and I, and we have to do it all. And we had to learn how to work with sound. And I realized how hard it is to make it work. We had the first scene that we shoot of the first location that we were shooting was in the house, and we're like, okay, we're going to be fine. We're in the house. It's quarantine, so we don't have people walking, and the house is going to be alone. We just let his parents know that we were shooting, and they wouldn't talk. But then the neighbors had a heater, so the heater will go on every 10 minutes
and
for like a minute.
The neighbors weren't even home.
Yeah, so we couldn't go and ask them to, I don't know, turn it off or whatever. It was just so annoying, and like we just had to deal with it.
Yeah, every 10 or 15 to 20 minutes, it would turn on, and it would stay on for 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, and that was like the first issue with sound, and then we moved from that location to another location. It's a cabin right by the house, and then we had the sound of the boats going in front, and his other family talking in their houses. So we can't go and say like, don't talk because we're making a movie.
Yeah, so we live on a lake, and we were trying to shoot a scene 2 days ago. We're still in the middle of this, by the way. Like, we're not done yet, and I wanted to do this podcast in the middle so we can talk about and record how we feel before it's done. And then afterwards we can reflect and look back and think of how we felt at the end. But we were shooting a scene 2 days ago, and we were in the cottage that we were shooting in by the lake, and we're sound speeding, the camera's rolling, and then we're saying our lines, and then all of a sudden you just hear vroom, vroom, and we look outside, and there's a jet ski literally just doing circles around the place that we were filming.
Yeah, the
And
lake is
so
huge,
loud.
and that guy just decided to do circles in front of the house.
So then Isa and Jessica, my sister, who was acting in it, run down on the dock and are like waving to him to like ask him, hey, could you maybe do that like a mile away on a different part of this giant lake? In a nice way. Obviously, he didn't know.
Yeah, and like, so here's the thing. We are doing it by ourselves, so we don't have any kind of permits, any kind of, like,
Yeah.
we just need to be nice and hope people want to help us. But they don't need to stop doing what they're doing.
No, absolutely. We weren't expecting
Yeah.
to care at all. But anyway, you guys go down on the dock and you start waving at him to like get him to come in, and you have big smiles, and so he just looks at you and gives you a wave and keeps going in circles around. So we had to scrap that scene until a later date when hopefully it's not as busy or it's worse weather outside so that nobody's boating. But things like that have been happening all the time. The rain, we don't have any way to shoot in the rain. Again, sound has just been an issue the entire time. Lighting, we have no lights. I don't know if people who don't make movies or aren't in the film industry might not know that every single thing you see on TV or movie theater is like super intentionally lit. Like you don't walk into a room and turn on some lights and then just start shooting. Like you have an entire team figuring out how to craft an image that looks like a movie. And that's why when you take out your cell phone and you just start shooting, it doesn't look like a movie. It's because of lighting, not really because we have amazing cameras right now, better than some of the cameras they shot some movies on.
100%.
But the lighting is what really does it. So that's been an interesting.
So we have learned how to work the sun. The sun has been our light, and we got a couple bands boards, like this whiteboard, and we're cutting light with the same thing that we balance.
So we're cutting light and also taking light and pushing it other places with these white foam boards that we have. And then we bought a few just tungsten lights from Home Depot that we've been using for like the moonlight. Tell them about what we did for lighting through the window for nighttime scenes.
So we had this scene in a cabin, and it's supposed to be like 9, and what we did, we went through the ceiling, we walked
To the roof,
to the roof, and had like a china wall going through the window. But then we don't have the equipment. We're working with what we have, what we can find.
So we had like a paper lantern, it's called, and we just hung it from the roof outside the window.
Yeah, and put like a brick to
on
hold
the
the
cord.
cable. Yeah, and then it's just so funny how we're making things that you don't supposed to do for safety things.
But we are quickly realizing why you're not supposed to do those things, because that paper lantern just kept swinging in the wind. It looked like the moon was like swinging. So then we had to scrap that idea and get like those lights, that you might put in like a chicken coop to heat them, like those big silver cone lights. And we again used a brick to just hang it off the edge.
And then you usually have like these special gels that you will put on the lights to make a color come through the light. And we didn't have that. And we don't have the time to get one, the money to afford one, or like not. So we just went through Nate's mom crafty things.
Yeah, her tissue paper.
Yeah.
for gifts.
For gifts, and put it there. It's blue and it worked perfectly, and it made the job.
Yeah, it looked good. So again, if you watch a movie, you'll notice that like in the moonlight is usually like portrayed as blue. So you'd use something called CTB, which is a gel that you'd put in front of the light that makes the light blue. But we just used blue tissue paper and it worked fine. It works pretty good. So those challenges have been fun to overcome, and also, honestly, those challenges aren't as stressful. Those are fun because you can easily come up with a way to fix it.
Yeah, like I feel like things that we know or we like. I like camera. I like lighting. And this is fun to figure out how we're going to make this. How can we work with this? I think the hard part is when we have to do things that we don't like that much. Like something is like a bad thing that stresses me out a lot. Or when we have to work with things that we can't control, like timing. Like one of our actors, he was working during the corona time online, so he had to be on his computer from 8 a.m. to 5. So we didn't have the whole day with him. We have just from 5 to 9 because when the sun is down, we can't shoot anymore. So it's stressful to put timing together, and now quarantine is
kind of ending.
Yeah, people is trying to go back to normal. So now she's our other actress. She is going to work, and now she's not staying in the house anymore. So we're like, we need to finish this really soon, and we need to make sure that when they get here, the weather is working and the neighbors are not there. But we can't really control those things.
Yeah, that's definitely the lighting we can't control really because the sun will do what it wants, and that's our main source. Yeah. But it's fun to figure out how to make it work. Yeah, because like
we want to learn about that.
Yeah. Sound, we could control it, but we only have one microphone, and neither of us know what we're doing. So that's in the middle. But then when it comes to scheduling, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a nightmare.
Yeah. So dealing with the things that we can't control and also just have no interest in, which I would say scheduling and sound are the two biggest things, and weather.
Yeah.
Like figuring out how to shoot in the weather.
Exactly. And there's other things like we shoot, but we don't have. Usually, when you're in a movie, you have somebody that will make sure that the continuity of the movie works, like clothing or the backgrounds. So we don't have that. We don't have that person. We are that person. So it's hard to keep because we're working on our positions too. We're trying to fix the light, fix the sound, make sure the actors knows what they need to do, and then we happen to shoot a whole scene with paint in the back that wasn't in the scene before, so we have to do that again, or like the letter thing in the dinner scene.
Oh yeah, like just props in the back.
Yeah.
That weren't there before. Yeah.
So then the continuity doesn't fit.
It doesn't match up. Or we shot a car scene and the windshield was rainy for one person's coverage and not that rainy for the other. So like when it cuts back and forth, it looks like half the car's covered in rain and the other half isn't, and it's super weird. And
yeah,
we
need to go back
and shoot that again. But there's just so many small things, and let's get into how much we respect film crews now. I mean, we always did, but now we're realizing like you can't shoot something with two people. You can, and we're doing it, but really this is a 30-40 person job.
I always respect people from all departments, but like I don't know, I guess I didn't know how much they did for the movie to make a good movie. Like I know how important is script supervisor, but I didn't know how much work they put on, or the sound people to make sure that it sounds good. And yeah, now I kind of want to go and hug everybody.
Hug every sound person.
You're great.
And it's just really eye-opening to, like, I was saying this to you earlier. If somebody came to me and did what a PA, would be doing and ask me questions like, hey, what do you need? Are you okay? Like, do you want me to go tell somebody something? Or do you want some water? How you want it, warm or cold? If somebody came up to me, like, here's a fruit snacks, I'd be so happy. I'd give them a giant hug. So, like, even just I don't want to say smallest position because it's a big responsibility, but the most entry level job in film, like, you just appreciate when you don't have it.
Yeah, I would love to have a camera utility here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of things that, and again, for those of you that aren't in the film industry or haven't been on a big set, um, there's a lot of people
Yeah.
on a set, and all of them are there for one job, because thinking about more than one job when you're on that tight of a schedule, there's that much money on the line, and I mean, there's producers that are expecting this thing to be done. Having more than one job in your mind is gonna make your job worse.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things I think an average person that looks at a film set would be like, well, they're wasting money paying him just to do that one thing. He could do
Mm-hmm.
like another thing too, but you really can't.
Yep.
And that's why in the unions, the director can't touch the camera unless he's also in the union as a camera person. And the grips can't touch electric equipment, and electricians can't touch the grip equipment, and everybody's got their job and is in their lane,
Yep.
and that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I think this has been fun because of that, because we got also the opportunity to do those things that we don't usually do, and I'm pretty sure I would never do sound again. Um, but we're having fun right now,
Mm-hmm.
and good for people from sound.
Yeah, and I've worked with the same director of photography, the person who makes the image look the way it's supposed to, knows where the lights are supposed to. Well, not necessarily. Anyway, the DP makes the image look good, and I've worked with the same one on every single project I've ever done. And now it's just me and Issa. So, and she loves camera, she loves lighting, so she knows a lot. But then also I get to pull from just watching what he did, and then kind of remembering like, oh, in a situation like this, we need this kind of light. And it's been fun
Mm-hmm.
being the person that needs to do it instead of just watching it happen.
Yep. I also feel like it's been a really good opportunity to learn how to communicate with each other. Here is 100% communication. Like, he needs to be telling all the time, or telling me all the time, what is he thinking and what is he doing and what he wants to do, so I can help him to get to that. And because he worked with the same person the whole time, they already had their own way to communicate. They don't, you and Joe basically don't even talk when you guys are working. Like, he knows what you want and you go with that.
Yeah,
But I don't. So now you're learning how to communicate with me.
that's been super hard too,
Yeah.
communication. And this is outside of film, this is just in life in general. Communication is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time when, and I'm not sure if it was just me not paying attention or what, but I heard you say something completely different, so I completely brushed it off and was like, just whatever, that doesn't matter right now. And then you came back later and said like, why did you ignore me? We could have solved this problem. I was like, because that's not what you were saying. You were saying this, and you're like, that's not what I was saying. So whether or not we're on a film set, I think that learning how to listen on my part, and then learning how to communicate, is just super important to any project or any relationship success.
Yeah, 100%.
What have
I
you
agree with you.
what have you learned about communication through this? What have you learned?
Definitely to pay attention. Sometimes Nate will say something to me, but I'm doing another thing, and when we're in this situation, whatever he's saying is important. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Whatever he's saying is also important. So, I've learned to stop what I'm doing, or let him know, I didn't hear what you said. Could you repeat it? So, I know, because then later he could say, well, but I told you. Yeah, but I didn't know. Like, I didn't pay attention, or I didn't understand quite right, because I was doing this other thing that was also important. But right now, there's like, everything is important.
Everything. There's not one. And getting into kind of a different subject on directing, I think that people, and it's kind of portrayed as a cliche in movies and in Hollywood, that like the director's like some mean guy who just pushes everybody around. But I want to say, and I want to defend directors because I am one myself, the reason that everybody must listen to the person who's been labeled as the director is because the movie has to come from a single mind. The movie can't come from a group of 30 people creatively and story-wise. Story-wise, the movie comes from the person who knows it the best. And they collaborate. They collaborate with the actors, and they figure out, like, okay, how do you view this character? Because the character is in the actor's mind and the director's mind, but it came from the director's mind, and it needs to be transmitted into the actor's mind, and the actor can change it when they get it. And a lot of directors are really good about, like, yeah, I like the way you're thinking, but then also you just really need to listen to a director on a set, because you are trusting that whatever is in that director's head is going to be out into the world by the end of this production, by the end of this thing. And that's an extremely hard thing to do with the languages that we have. You know, in English, you can't really, or Spanish or whatever, you can't really explain an entire idea through a story visually with sound and all this stuff with just talking to somebody. So paying attention and just listening to whatever that director has in his head so that you can do the best you can to collaborate and bring that out is really important.
Yeah, I also feel before this experience, I feel like I could help the director to accomplish whatever they wanted without want to add something. Just give a suggestion, and then if they want it or not, good. But here's different, because usually you have like 3 months or 5 months of a year of pre-production, and you just work on the idea. So I know what we're doing. I know what you want. I know what your character, what do you want to tell the audience with this scene. But we start shooting without a finished script. So we started shooting and we didn't even know what the story was totally about.
Yeah. By the end of like the second week we did, but for the first 2 weeks and even now, things are changing all the time.
Yeah, every time we shoot, there is something that we want to change or something that we want to add or something we want to take out. And we're just working in this short amount of time when, like, 2 days ago, I was trying to schedule in what we're going to do today and tomorrow, and then
it's already different.
Say it again? It's
already different.
Yeah, and I was telling, like, well, we're going to shoot this in this in this scene, and he goes like, well, we are not shooting that scene anymore. It's out of the script. I was like, why? What happened? So, yeah, I think that's an important reason why we have having this communication, or I don't know how I can call it, but troubles on who's directing. Like, he is directing, he wrote the script, but I don't know really well yet, and I feel like our actors don't know really well yet what it is, but it's just because we didn't have time to the pre-production part.
Yeah, and again, like, I'm trying to piece this movie because I wrote it and because I'm editing it as we're shooting. I'm trying to edit in my head as we're going. So sometimes there'll be scenes where we're shooting and you have a suggestion, but the way I decided I'm going to cut it in my head, it's just, there's no way that we could shoot that because I'm not going to use it. So again, just having to have one person do such an ambitious thing in their head, there's a reason that they are given the title that they have, the director, because it's all in their head and they got to direct it out and delegate the
but that's my point. What I'm getting is, I want to help you.
No, I know, and you've been doing an amazing job.
If we had the pre-production time where I know, okay, this scene, I want to portray that she is confused, and the scene, maybe the character that has more speaking time is the guy, but you want to portray she is the one feeling the confusion thing. So I just have the script to read.
Right.
So I can just give you suggestions from what I'm reading on the script.
Yeah, we haven't had time to sit down and talk about what each scene means.
So I feel that has been this discussion here has been a lot during the whole time, because he doesn't have time to explain, okay, this is the feeling and this is the mood and this is everything, because as soon as we cut with the camera, he goes edit to make sure that everything is working. So next time we talk is when we're ready to shoot again.
Yeah. And meanwhile, while when we're done shooting, you go and you look at the script and you try to find out that what our two actors' schedules are and when we can shoot. And then meanwhile, I go and I try to think of a different, or I try to think, is this working? Is it not? And I try to think of a way to make it work. And then sometimes I add a scene and then we come back and you're like, okay, we're going to shoot this, this, and this, and this tomorrow. And I'm like, well, I just added a scene. And you're like, what do you mean? But it's just because we had no time to prepare and I had no time to make sure that what we're shooting is what exactly is going to be the best. So we have to do all that at the same time. And it might sound like we're making a scrambled, jumbled movie, but
Yeah,
we're actually making it's a good movie. And it's because we're allowing all this to happen, because we're allowing all the flexibility and the changes and you're doing really good at making sure that no matter what I feel I need to add creatively to the story, that you're able to make it happen.
Yeah, after this, I think I might change to an AD department.
Assistant director.
Yeah, I might be
Who does
assistant
scheduling.
director. Yeah, I found out that I actually enjoyed that part. But yeah, and I feel like we complement each other pretty well. He's really creative and he will fight for the art. I am more technical. I will make sure that it is complete. And this might not sound good, but I'd rather to have an end result, even if it's not great, than have a half movie perfect done. So I'm okay with having, let's say, half of the story raining, or like the raining example in the car, like the part of the guy was like with a bunch of rain in the window, but the girl wasn't. So if that is going to make the movie be done and have a complete movie, but that part is going to look like bad, I'm okay with that. We have something. I feel Nate protects more your baby, your movie. You want it to be perfect, even though
I don't like making bad things.
that might that might mean not to finish it.
Yeah, I really don't like making bad things. I don't like, and it's tough because there are a lot of things that I don't know. I don't know how I feel. All I know is I hate making bad things. I hate making something I don't want to show somebody. I don't like having a product that I am not proud of. I don't like cringing at my own work.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But sometimes like you need to sacrifice some
There's
things
definitely
in order
sacrifice,
in order to have something. And so at this point we're almost done with the movie. We have like 15% left, 20 to 15% left. And it's been really hard because we started shooting the easy part, everything in the house, like interiors. That means that you're in houses, places, rooms, cars.
There's a roof.
Yeah. And that's easier because you can control who's walking, or the raining, you can like make it work. But right now we're shooting outside. We're in the woods and we're in roads, and that has been really stressful. And in this point, I feel we're starting to make, and also we're running out of time because quarantine is almost done. So here is, what do we want? Do we want half great movie, or do we want a movie that might not be great, but we need to pick? And I wish we didn't, but we have to.
I think no matter what we do at this point, it's not going to be a bad movie because the story is good enough and what we've done visually is good. I mean, the sound it's workable, it's listenable.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have a vision of everything I make as being the best it can be, and it's hard when it's not. But again, how many movies have I ever seen with two actors only in a few locations that were made with two crew members with $200? Like, I haven't really seen any. So this one's the best one I've seen for sure.
So it is a good movie. I promise you guys, you all need to go and watch it. You guys are hearing all our horror stories, but it's looking pretty good, and you guys are going to enjoy it, I'm pretty sure.
So we were talking about this earlier too. There's a bunch of movies that we were watching in preparation for this, or that Isabel would send me, or that we would just find on Netflix or whatever, that had kind of similar restraints that we do, like one room or only a few actors or just basically no money. And they're all, at least the ones that we watch, really good. People can get really creative with the restraints that they have. For instance, well, they're not always like really good, but they're good. Like you wanna finish it.
Okay, so there's this movie called Circle or
The
The
Circle
Circle,
on
and it's on
Netflix.
Netflix, and I was so impressed with that movie. The whole movie is in one room. Well, 99% of the movie is in one room, 50 people, but they're going. So the whole idea is like they're dying every couple minutes, and they have no idea why. And then, yeah.
They have to vote people out, kind of.
Yeah. So the camera had literally three movements. It's so simple. It's so simple. The art design, everything. Even the acting, I would say I didn't like it that much. Like, I wouldn't say
They
that.
weren't actors.
Yeah,
No.
I could think that they were friends or people that just were trying to be actors and
Yeah.
first opportunity. But I watch it all and I like it and I could watch it again.
I'd watch it again. And then also there's this movie, The Platform, and this movie's a little bit bigger budget.
It is bigger
It's
budget, yeah.
a couple million maybe, but that's small still. $1 million is not a big budget. But they took the movie and they did the whole thing in one set that they would redress to be 333 other sets. There's basically cells of this prison, and they just use the same one over and over.
Yeah.
And there was two actors at most in a scene at a time usually. Maybe sometimes four would be on screen at once.
Yeah, but like you can tell it wasn't like they had this a lot of money and a lot of time. They work with what they have in the moment, and that's a great movie. I love it.
And no, that movie
You should
isn't even
guys
passable.
watch
That
it.
movie is like good.
It is a great,
Yeah.
great movie.
And then another one that uses very little money and very little locations and actors is Saw, and I just watched that again. And that movie's, I mean, it's outdated a little bit. It was made a long time ago, but it's a good movie, and most of the movie takes place in that one room. And so it can be done. What we're doing can be done.
Yeah, and
Again, Blair Witch Project, that whole movie is just, they came up with a whole style of a movie, which is found footage, making it look like it actually happened and people recorded it, and it can work.
yeah, I think the important thing is start to do it. So we'll go back to what I believe of. Maybe it's not the best thing, but it's done. I'm okay with doing something that is not great, but you did it. I feel like the Blair Witch Project is a really bad movie. It doesn't look good. But they did it, and they did a whole different thing, and they didn't have money. They were students, I think, when they should
I
have.
don't know, but
Like, the point is, like, you just need to go and do it. And whatever you have, if you have a phone, just do it with your phone. If you have your sister and your brother, just do it with them. And yeah.
yeah, and I've been really about that too. Like, start, and then everything you start, you need to finish.
Yeah, 100%.
I just really want it to be good before I finish it. For instance, I shot this short film last year in the summer, and I finished an edit and I didn't like it, so I didn't do the sound, I didn't polish it up, I didn't finish it until it was summer again, so that I could go get sound for it and re-edit it, and then I finished it. Because I do like finishing things, and I think I've finished every project I've set
You
out
have.
to make.
Yep.
At least since I met you. But I don't want to finish something if it's not good.
Yeah, that's.
If it's bad, I guess. Because not good, maybe some of my stuff isn't great, but it's none of it's bad. None of it's cringe. Like, I don't want to watch this.
Well, and funny thing, this short film that he's talking that he didn't love it and it took like a year to finish it. People loved it. I think it's the one with more views of all your short films.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. People are really liking it. there's just something weird to me about when something works. When you watch a movie, like there's just a attachment you get or an immersion where you're inside whatever world that movie created and it just works. And when you watch a movie that is not working, it bugs me like crazy. And I think that feeling is really hard to get in a short film because you only have 5-10 minutes to capture somebody into that world. And I'm hoping, because I'm not sure if I've done that yet, because all I've made is short films. So I'm hoping with this feature film, I can finally feel that for something I've made.
Yeah, I think so far what we have, people is going to be interested to watch it till the end. And so at the beginning we had a different story, and it was kind of, it wasn't boring, but it was
like
cliche,
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all knew what was going to happen. But here, and the end is so good.
Yeah, I changed some things. I added a mystery that you're going to be wondering about since the opening scene.
Yeah. So you don't know who's good, who's bad, or what is going to happen. I don't know. I think right now it's pretty good. So
yeah.
Even though it could not look great, we don't know because we haven't shot that part. But it could not look great, but the story is really good, so you're going to like it. You won't even know that it doesn't look good. We know because we're making it, and normally you're hard on yourself.
I sent a scene that we edited and shot and put together to a friend of mine who I would say has decently high standards for things, and he was like, the cinematography, I'm crying, this is so good. And I was like, dude, we used like a paper lantern. That's it. But it looked, I mean, we got a good camera and it looked good.
Yeah.
So that was all you set up that scene.
Thank you. I think right now, for how we're talking, it feels like it's been super messy, but it feels like more. But once it's done and we can talk about a final result and we see, okay, this is what it ended up being. And after we sell it, so we might have it in some digital platform, hopefully, we're going to talk about this differently.
Yeah, I think so too. And if anybody out there is looking for a feature film thriller, hit us up. We've got a good one.
Pretty good.
And I want to end this on a fun story, something that we did during the production of this film a few days ago, I guess a week ago now. Isabel, you can help me tell it. I'll set it up and you can help me when we get to the climax of this story. But we were filming a scene where one of our characters has to hit the other character in the head with a metal pole. It's a fight scene.
Okay, wait, before that, we need to set up what happened before. So we were talking about a gun on set. Okay, and Nate was like, we gotta shoot the gun to have sense on the story. And I was like, we don't need it. We could just show the gun.
She wanted to work her way around the gun, and I was like, we need the gun.
Yeah. So his mom was there hearing all these conversations. She didn't say anything, but she was, I don't know, painting or
She's
cooking.
Paying attention, yeah.
Yeah, she knew that we were talking about a gun and that he wanted to shoot and I didn't want it. So whatever.
So then we're doing this fight scene. No guns were involved, and we had this metal pole that one character needed to hit the other character in the head with. And so in the movie, she does it. Obviously, she didn't actually hit him in the head. We movie magicked it. But then we put fake blood. We made fake blood out of like cornstarch. It looks real. It looks really real. We made fake blood out of all this stuff, and we put it on his head where he would have gotten hit. And it just starts dripping down, and it's all over his face. And then we have more blood like on his stomach where he would have gotten shot earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
And so we were wrapping up for the day, and we were in a cottage like a few feet away from the house where my parents and us are all staying in. And so we told my sister, we were like, Jessica, you need to run in there and just scream and say, like, I accidentally hit Thomas. I actually hit him, and he's bleeding everywhere. Do we have a first aid kit? Do we have something? So
yeah, but in this moment, his dad and mom both were in the house. Dwight, his dad, just got to the house from work.
he just got home.
And
My mom was just got off of a really tough call that she had to be on with some friends. And so Jessica starts walking over, and we're a few feet behind her. We're trailing behind, so that like we don't all come in at once, as if she was running scared and we were just trailing behind. And so we watch her. She gets to the garage, and she just stands there. She takes a deep breath, and then I just hear, Mom, Dad, where's the first aid kit? Do we have the first aid kit? And she just starts screaming, and she runs inside. And the next thing I know, I'm looking at Isabel, and I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going to laugh.
I was laughing so much.
This is too funny. And so then all of a sudden I see my dad run out, and he's holding a roll of toilet paper, and he's thinking, like, where are we going to go? Are we going to get in the car? Am I going to have to call an ambulance? Or are we going to the hospital? And he looks at Thomas, the person who's got all the blood on, and he sees that he's just completely covered in blood, his whole face.
Yeah, and then he looks at Nate to see, like, what do I do? And Nate, he was laughing, and he goes, oh my God. But because he was just like,
yeah,
laughing.
It sounded bad, but I was like, it was from laughs, so I was like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
And
but then it sounded like I was crying or something.
Yeah, so Dwight thought he was like, it was the first time Nate saw the blood and how bad it looked, so he was like even more worried about.
Yeah, and then my mom comes out, and she takes one look at Thomas and just starts gagging like she was gonna puke. She's like, ugh. And then so Dwight, with his paper towel roll, runs up, takes out some paper towel, and just is about to put it on Thomas's head where all the blood is. And Thomas looks up and goes, I'm so sorry. And then Dwight turns around with this roll of toilet paper, and as hard as he can just throws it at my sister's head and is like, not funny. And then my mom comes up and she slaps me. She's like, I'm gonna kill you. And then she slaps Jessica. I'm gonna kill you. And she slaps Thomas, and I'm gonna kill you. And she's about to slap Isabel, and then my dad grabs her hand and is like, it's okay, it was just a joke. But my mom,
she was really mad.
She thought that we shot him on accident.
Yeah,
because of the gun talk earlier.
Yeah, she thought that Jessica shot him by accident, and she was just thinking Jessica's going to go to jail, and Thomas is going to lose an eye. This is going to be so bad. Poor Karen.
It was so funny, and it was mean, but they had fun. They laughed about it later.
Okay, and fun fact, we forgot to shoot.
We didn't record a video of it.
We didn't record a video.
Which is the worst part. How do you prank somebody and not record a video of you pranking them? We're dumb.
We're dumb.
But that was one of the most funniest moments that I've had on a film set.
It was so much fun. I think we have had a lot of good moments. Like, I've had fun most of the time.
Me too.
So we built this boom with
yeah, we built a boom pole, which if you don't know, a boom is what holds the microphone above the characters.
Yeah, how do we like
it's a painter's pole, so we could extend it, and then we use like a paint roller, and we like made a PVC pipe with rubber bands on it to suspend the microphone so it doesn't make noise when we bump it.
I love it. I love it so much. We could buy a new one and we would have it right now, and I was like, no, we need to keep this one because it's beautiful and it's funny.
Yeah, and that's another thing is it'd be good to know is like we probably could have gotten a little bit of a budget for this. We probably could have done okay, had a couple $1,000, but we decided like let's just make it with what we have and have fun doing it.
Yep.
And again, I actually bought a part of the boom pole to use because I didn't want to use our made up one anymore. But then Isa was like, nope, we're using this because we made it.
Because he's great. Like, for real. We're going to take pictures of it and post it in the social media. And they're going to be we have to post pictures of those things at the end of the movie, how we did
Yeah.
certain things because they're funny. They're great.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. But overall, I would say I wanted to record this during production so that we knew how we felt during, and then afterwards we can look back on it. There'll be another episode of this. And then also there's some other people that have made feature films that I'm going to interview in between now and then because I think it's an interesting thing. And if you listen to the episode I did with Devin Buklowski, this is like making a movie is like a construction project.
Mm-hmm.
And a feature film is like a giant mansion. And making a mansion with 2 people only to build the whole thing, it would be hard. You'd normally have to make like a crew of a few people, you know, to do everything and hire contractors to do the heating and cooling and all this, but we're doing it all. And it's really interesting stuff. So I like talking about making movies. I like talking about having a goal and then trying to complete it. And doing it with my girlfriend, my best friend, is super fun.
It's been great. I think at least if I have been doing this with somebody else that wasn't you, we wouldn't finish it. I wouldn't finish it.
Yeah, I would have quit.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah. And you've been really good at making sure that I don't quit. Because there have been times where I was about to. I pulled my hair out yesterday.
No, but you're being really good directing this thing. And writing and everything.
And you've been really good at helping me do all that stuff and all the camera work. And it's been great.
We're a good team.
Good team. All right, so that was it for this episode of Defining Success. I hope you enjoyed this conversation between me and Isabel, talking about the movie that we're making. And we will definitely finish this movie and have it somewhere, whether you're going to watch it on Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, hopefully one of those 3, or...
If not, we'll just send you a copy. Just text us. If in a year from now you haven't heard anything, we'll just... Google Drive it for you.
It's definitely good enough to sell. It's definitely something that would entertain a lot of people.
Yeah, we're going to make money with this.
Yeah.
We already know what we're going to buy with that money.
Yeah, some jet skis so that we can ride around and interrupt other people's movies.
Exactly.
In circles in front of their house. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. We're doing video now of the podcast, so there will be clips of different parts of this podcast up, 10 5-minute clips, and then there will also be the entire episode uploaded as well. So be sure to look up Defining Success on YouTube or look at the show notes for a link to that. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again soon.
See you soon.